The table was still set. 2 wine glasses. Her plate untouched. The candle bent sideways like it had tried to run. I hadn't moved all night. At 6:42 a.m., I heard footsteps on the porch. They didn't sound guilty or hesitant, just normal, like a Tuesday morning and not the aftermath of what happened the night before. The door opened with that same creak I kept forgetting to fix. And then she walked in, car keys in one hand, coffee in the other, humming some indie song she used to play when folding laundry. She was wearing the same earrings I gave her last year. Her hair still smelled like the rosemary conditioner I bought last week. No explanation. No apology. Just, "Hey babe, did you sleep okay?" I didn't answer. Because 12 hours earlier, on the anniversary of our marriage, the date I carved into wood and hung over our bed, she had gotten into another man's car. Not a fight. Not a tearful goodbye. Just a, "I'm heading out for a bit," followed by the purr of an engine and the red glow of taillights vanishing down the street. No texts. No call. Nothing. And now she was here, standing in the same doorway where I watched her leave. Like she'd never left. She sipped her coffee and walked past me. Didn't even flinch when she saw the suitcase by the stairs, the one I had packed for her in a rage at 2 a.m. She looked at it, blinked, and said, "Oh, are we going somewhere?" That's when I realized something was broken. Not in the room. In reality. Because her phone was still in her purse. Because she didn't smell like cologne or alcohol or guilt. Because when I checked the front door security cam, there was no footage of her coming in. None. Just static at 6:39 a.m. Then her, in the hallway. Like she appeared out of nowhere. Like time skipped. Or something worse. And that's when I looked at the calendar. It didn't say Wednesday. It said Tuesday. Again. And this time, she hadn't left. Yet. The clock said 7:01 a.m. The same time it said yesterday. Or what I thought was yesterday. Mallory, if I can even call her that anymore, was in the kitchen, flipping through the mail like nothing was off. She whistled while opening a junk coupon envelope, then tossed it in the trash without even reading it. The exact same flick of the wrist I saw before. I stood in the hallway, frozen, watching her like she was a stranger wearing my wife's skin. She asked if I wanted toast. Toast. That's what she said yesterday too. I remember because I'd snapped, said, "No, I want a damn explanation." But this time I stayed silent. Just nodded. She smiled, popped 2 slices in the toaster, then walked past me again, brushing my arm lightly like she used to when we first dated, absent-minded affection, muscle memory. I went upstairs. That's when I tested it. I pulled out my phone, opened my gallery, scrolled back to last night's photos. The dinner table I set. The wine. The candle. I even took a picture of the untouched meal, time-stamped 7:44 p.m. My caption read, "She never came home." But now, that image was gone. Instead, the last photo in my phone was a shot of Mallory from Sunday, wearing the same sweatshirt she had on now, eating the same breakfast, the same countertop crumbs, like time had bent backward and spit me out before the betrayal. I opened my texts. The message from Jude, "She's with me now." Gone. Even his name wasn't in my contacts anymore. My stomach twisted. I rushed to the bathroom, locked the door, and splashed water on my face. I looked in the mirror for signs of sleep deprivation or madness. I half expected to see a crack forming in the glass, or in me. Instead, I saw a man with tired eyes and a trembling lip, clutching the edge of the sink like it was a lifeline. I opened my notes app and typed, "If this is Tuesday again, and she leaves tonight, I need proof." So I made a plan. This time, I'd stay calm. I'd go through the day exactly like before. But I'd hide a camera in the living room. I'd back up footage to the cloud. I'd screenshot every message. I'd catch whatever was happening before it reset. Mallory called from downstairs, asking if I wanted to go to the same brunch place we visited last week. Another test. I said yes. On the drive, I noticed the radio played the same song as yesterday, Sleepwalker, by some indie band she liked in college. She sang along, off-key, tapping the steering wheel with the same rhythm. I asked her if she remembered what day it was. She said Tuesday. When I asked what tomorrow was, she laughed and said, Wednesday, genius." I wanted to scream, shake her, but instead I just stared at her hands, wondering if they'd held his face last night, or if this version of her hadn't done it yet. We ate brunch like newlyweds. She showed me a video of a puppy sneezing 5 times in a row. She fed me a piece of her waffle and called me sugar plum. I nearly threw up, because none of it was real. She was either a damn good actress or something worse. I started to wonder if this was her doing. A punishment, a gaslight loop, a second chance, or a curse. When we got home, I went upstairs and plugged in the camera, hidden in the bookshelf, angled toward the door. And then I waited. Because if tonight repeated like before, she'd leave at 6:38 p.m. And this time, I'd be watching. Time moved like syrup after 5 p.m. Every minute dragged its feet like it didn't want to get to 6:38 p.m. But I was ready. I had tested the camera 3 times. It was streaming directly to a private folder in my cloud drive and saving locally to a micro SD card, just in case. I set my phone to screen record. I left all the lights on. Mallory made dinner. Same as before, lemon chicken with wild rice. She always made that when she was feeling guilty. I used to think it was comfort food. Now I wasn't so sure. She joked about how quiet I was being. "You're acting like you're waiting for something bad to happen," she said, laughing, pouring 2 glasses of wine. I didn't answer. I just stared at her, watched every movement like a scientist studying a predator in disguise. At exactly 6:32 p.m., her phone buzzed. I heard it. She looked at the screen, frowned for half a second, then smiled like she was hiding something. Slid it face down. I checked my own phone. No missed calls. No messages. Nothing from Jude, if he even existed in this loop. At 6:37 p.m., she stood up and said, "I need to run out for a bit. I'll be back soon. Want me to pick up anything?" I said, "Where are you going?" She blinked. Just once. But the silence between us cracked open like ice over deep water. Then, just, CVS. I think I'm out of shampoo. Shampoo. The same lie she told in the first timeline. Word for word. I forced a nod. My stomach twisted, but I stayed still. She kissed the top of my head and left. The door closed at exactly 6:38 p.m. I didn't follow her. I ran to the upstairs room where the camera was. Sat down. And waited. 2 hours passed. Nothing. I watched her leave again on the footage. Replayed it 5 times. She walked out, keys in hand, purse over her shoulder. No hesitation. No look back. But at 8:41 p.m., something happened. The footage glitched. It wasn't buffering. I checked the local file. Same exact glitch. A moment of static, then, she was back in the house. No door opening. No sound. Just, frame 1, empty hallway. Frame 2, Mallory, walking across like she'd never left. Holding a coffee. Hair tied up now. Wearing a different sweater. I paused. Rewound. Played again. She did not come through the door. She just appeared. I ran downstairs to check the front door cam. Nothing. It glitched at 8:39 p.m. for exactly 23 seconds, then resumed. Mallory was inside. I checked the GPS tracking I'd set up on her phone. Yes, I went that far. It showed her going to a house across town. For 40 minutes. Then nothing. Signal lost. And then back at home. But the house she visited? I searched the address. It didn't exist. Not on Google Maps. Not on Zillow. Not even on satellite view. Just a blank patch of forest with no roads leading in or out. I sat there, sweating, heart hammering in my chest like a wild animal trying to claw its way out. Then, from the kitchen, I heard her call out. "Did you want dessert?" Her voice sounded normal. But I couldn't bring myself to answer. I turned toward the hallway. And she was already standing there, staring at me, smiling, like she knew everything. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. Every creak in the house felt louder. Every digital clock tick felt like it echoed inside my head. I kept playing the footage back on loop. There was no door open, no creak of hinges. Just one frame she wasn't there, and the next, she was walking toward the kitchen, humming. The same song, the same steps, even the same humming tone, perfectly repeated. No human ever hums the same melody exactly the same way twice. But she did. I don't think she's looping like me. I think she is the loop. I didn't speak to her after that. I pretended I was sick. She offered to make tea. I watched her stir honey into it with her left hand. Mallory was right-handed. I know because she used to tilt her wrist in this weird, swan neck way when she wrote shopping lists. This one stirred like she'd done it a million times with the wrong hand and never noticed. I asked her, quietly, "Where were you last night?" She blinked again, that single blink that lasts 1/2 beat too long. Like her brain has to buffer the answer. "I went to get shampoo, remember?" she said. I nodded, but I checked the bottle in the shower. Still full, dusty, unopened. That night, I didn't set the camera in the bookshelf. I wore it. Button cam. Hidden in my flannel. Battery pack taped under my undershirt. Motion triggered, with backups saved directly to cloud folders she didn't know existed. I wore a mic too, clipped inside the collar, disguised as a loose thread. I needed to hear everything. I followed her with my eyes all night. She went through the same steps, made dinner, left at 6:38 p.m. Only this time, I tailed her. I stayed 10 cars behind. Lights off. She didn't go to CVS. She drove across town, took the interstate, then turned off onto a road that didn't exist on my GPS. It looked new, gravel, no streetlights, lined with pine trees. At the end was a gray building with no windows. Not a house, not a store, just something. She parked, got out, stood still for 7 full minutes. Then the door opened by itself. She stepped inside. I waited. 34 minutes. She never came out. But then my phone buzzed. Mallory, Purple Heart, hey babe, I forgot my wallet. Can you check the kitchen counter? I froze. I looked at her car. Still there. I looked at the building. Still closed. I looked at the timestamp. The message was sent from home Wi-Fi. I sped back. Didn't even signal. When I got there, she was in the kitchen. Barefoot, sipping water, smiling. Wallet right beside her. Like she never left. But her eyes were wrong. They didn't blink the same. They didn't track movement like they used to. When I waved my hand slightly in front of her, she didn't flinch. When I dropped the spoon behind her back, no reaction. When I called her name, she turned instantly. Too fast. Too perfect. I went to the bathroom, locked the door again, and opened the live stream from my body cam. It was still rolling, and the footage showed her car, still parked at the gray building, with her still standing at the front door, staring at it, motionless. Except she was here too, in the kitchen, alive, blinking, asking about dinner. 2 of her, one frozen, one pretending, and neither of them was my wife. By dawn I had decided. I wasn't going to let that gray place hide behind a GPS glitch and a lie. I waited until she, whatever she was, fell asleep. Her breathing was too even, like a recording looping on a speaker, and her eyelids didn't twitch once. Normal people dream. This one just stayed still. I drove out at 4:12 a.m., headlights off until I reached the main road. My camera was running. I wanted proof that I hadn't lost my mind. But when I reached the turnoff, the forest was different. The road that led to the building last night was gone. Not blocked. Gone. Just a wall of trees so dense the light from my beams bounced back at me. I parked, got out, and started walking with a flashlight. The night air smelled like metal and wet pine. 10 minutes in, I found tire tracks, the exact pattern from her car's worn rear tires. They stopped at a clearing. No building. No sign of construction. Just disturbed soil, circular, like something had pressed into the earth and lifted away. My phone buzzed. The signal was weak, but there was a new notification from my camera at home. Motion detected. Kitchen. I froze. She was awake. Or maybe the other her was. I ran back to the car, started it, and sped home faster than I've ever driven. When I burst through the door, the house was silent. The kitchen light was on, flickering slightly. On the counter was a small black object that looked like a drive, one of mine. I picked it up and saw my handwriting on a strip of masking tape. Mallory_CM_day 1. Except I had never labeled it. I had only uploaded everything to the cloud. This was physical, solid, like the evidence had printed itself into reality. My laptop recognized it instantly. Inside was one file, timestamped 2 days in the future. The title read, 06_CM_exit. MP4. I clicked play. The footage was my living room. Nighttime. Same angle as my bookshelf cam. Mallory stood in the center of the room, staring at the lens. Behind her, the front door was wide open and the hallway lights flickered in rhythm with her breathing. She whispered something I couldn't hear. Then she stepped closer, close enough for the camera to pick up the reflection of my own couch in her eyes. And then, from behind her, another figure walked in. Me. Same clothes, same hair, same wristwatch. The version of me on the video looked straight at her and said, "You weren't supposed to come back yet." The clip ended there. I replayed it again and again, but the file corrupted after 30 seconds, dissolving into static. I stared at my own reflection in the laptop screen, half expecting the other version of me to blink first. My hands shook so hard I dropped the drive. From upstairs, the bedroom floor creaked. Slow, steady steps. I called her name, But the sound that answered wasn't Mallory's voice. It was mine. And it said, calm and close, like someone standing right behind me. You shouldn't have gone to the building. I didn't turn around. When you hear your own voice echo from a place it shouldn't be, something ancient kicks in. Like your soul knows there's a line between what should exist and what does. And when that line breaks, it screams quietly in your blood. I stood there, my back to the stairs, pulse hammering so loud I swore it would give me away. But the air had changed. The room felt thicker, like it had been filled with someone else's breath. You shouldn't have gone to the building, my voice repeated from behind me. It wasn't a whisper. It wasn't a threat. It was worse. It was disappointed. Calm. Like someone scolding a child for ruining a carefully planned surprise. I turned slowly. Nothing. No one. The staircase was empty. But the light upstairs was flickering. I moved toward it, one step at a time. Each creak of the stair felt like it echoed through 1,000 versions of my house. When I reached the top, I saw Mallory sitting at the foot of the bed. She was staring at the wall, unmoving, her hands in her lap, like she was waiting for something to load. I called her name. No response. I stepped closer. Still nothing. Then I walked around to face her, and that's when I noticed it. Her eyes weren't tracking. They were open, yes, but unfocused. Unblinking. Not like before. Not pretending. It was like the lights were on, but no one was inside. And her chest wasn't moving. I reached out, touched her arm. Ice cold. I staggered back. Then, from behind me, I heard the sound again. Footsteps. Only they weren't on the stairs this time. They were on the ceiling. Pacing. Slow, deliberate steps from one end of the house to the other. Then silence. Then the sound of something being dragged across the attic floor. I should have left right then. Should have run into the night and never looked back. But I was so far past logic, past fear, past whatever human survival instinct I had left. I needed answers, even if they unmade me. I went to the hallway, grabbed the stepladder, and pulled down the attic hatch. Dust fell. So did a single object, something small and metal that hit the floor and bounced twice. It was my wedding ring. Not the one I was wearing. The one I lost last year. At the lake. Slipped off while we were kayaking and vanished into the water. But there it was. Tarnished. Cold. Still bearing the inscription on the inside. Mallory and L. Always 7:04. The exact time she reappeared every morning in this loop. The attic ladder creaked as I climbed up. The air was electric. Heavy. Like the moment before a lightning strike. My flashlight beam landed on piles of things that didn't belong. Shoeboxes full of watches, dozens of them. All stopped at 7:04. Photos of me, taken from angles inside the house. Notes written in my handwriting, but phrases I'd never thought before. A mirror facing the corner. And then I saw him. Me. Sitting cross-legged in the center of the attic, facing the wall, whispering something in a loop. I raised my flashlight. His head twitched slightly, then slowly turned toward me. His eyes were pitch black, not demonic, not Hollywood. Just empty, like pupils without end. He grinned. You asked for a second chance, he said. I couldn't speak. You said, I wish I could go back and stop her. So we gave you that. Tuesday. Over and over. You should have left it alone. He stood now. Same flannel. Same scar on the chin from when I fell off my bike in '97. But there was something wrong about how he moved, like his joints were guessing where to go. I stepped back. But he didn't follow. You've got one more chance, he said. One more Tuesday. After that, we decide how this ends. And then, total darkness. My flashlight died. My heart nearly followed. By the time I scrambled down the attic and back to the bedroom, Mallory was gone. Not cold. Not robotic. Just gone. Her side of the bed was empty. And for the first time in 5 loops, the sheets were warm. The next morning didn't start at 7:04. It started at 3:17 a.m. No knock. No door opening. No sound of coffee mugs or humming or her voice calling from the hallway like a well-rehearsed play. Just silence. And a house that didn't feel like my own anymore. I woke on the couch with the worst headache of my life, dried blood under one nostril, and no memory of falling asleep. Every light was off. My phone was dead, but the display kept flashing the same number, 704. Over and over. Not the time. Not a notification. Just that number. I stumbled toward the kitchen. The calendar on the fridge still said Tuesday. But the photo beside it, our anniversary picture, was gone. In its place was a Polaroid of me, asleep, with a shadow in the background. my handwriting scrawled along the bottom. You almost made it. I dropped it. The sound echoed too loud, like it didn't belong in this version of the house. I ran upstairs. Mallory wasn't in bed, wasn't in the shower, wasn't anywhere. But all her things were. Her shoes by the door. Her perfume still lingering in the hallway. Her laptop open on the desk, blinking with an unfinished Word doc titled Exit Letter, Do Not Save. I clicked it open. It was blank. No autosave. No history. Just one cursor blinking in the center of the screen. Then, slowly, it began to type on its own. He keeps trying to fix it. He keeps breaking it more. The screen flickered. Then, tell him Tuesday isn't a punishment. It's protection. And then it closed itself. I backed away so fast I knocked over her chair. I tried to unplug the laptop, but it didn't turn off. It just stayed there, humming faintly. The keyboard melted to black. I knew I had one move left. The building. I didn't care if it wasn't on a map. I didn't care if it shifted location again. I was going to find it. If this was a loop, a prison, a trap, I wanted to break it, even if that meant breaking myself. I packed a bag, flashlight, backup charger, my hidden camera rig, bottled water, and a folding knife I hadn't touched since my dad gave it to me. I don't know what I thought I'd need it for. Maybe not for them. Maybe for me. I drove toward the forest, but this time, the road was already there. Waiting. Straight. Lit by a pale gray dawn that hadn't reached the rest of the sky yet. The trees seemed to lean back slightly, like they were letting me in. Like they wanted me to find what I wasn't supposed to find. I parked at the end and got out. The building was different this time. Taller. No doors. Just a single opening carved in the wall like a wound. The air smelled like ozone and burnt metal, and the sound, God, the sound, was like whispering through old tape, muffled and looping just out of rhythm. I walked in. No flashlight needed. The walls glowed faintly, pulsating like they were breathing. The floor wasn't a floor, it was memory. I saw pieces of my childhood flashing under my feet. My mother's voice. My college dorm. The moment I met Mallory in that coffee shop when she dropped her phone and said, "Don't judge me by my cracked screen." It was all there. And then it all stopped. I reached a central room with only two things in it. A chair, and a version of me already sitting in it. He looked tired. More tired than I've ever felt. And I felt some things. He looked up. "You figured it out too late," he said. His voice wasn't angry. It was exhausted. Cracked like someone who's been screaming in silence for years. They only let you try so many times before they reset the pattern. "Who's that?" I asked. He just pointed behind me. I turned and saw nothing. Just black. Endless. But I heard breathing. My own. And Mallory's. Dozens of versions of it. Repeating. Mismatched. Broken. "They tried to stop it," he said. "But you insisted on fixing something that wasn't yours to fix." "Fix what?" He smiled faintly, almost kindly. "Your wife never cheated on you. You just couldn't accept that she left. So you created the version where she did. And now you're stuck in it." I didn't believe him. I couldn't. But somewhere deep inside, a tiny voice whispered, "You know he's right." And then the walls began to close. Not crushing. Rewriting. The light dimmed. And all I could hear was Mallory's voice, whispering one line again and again from the farthest corner of the loop. It was never about betrayal. It was about what you needed to believe. The moment he said those words, you just couldn't accept that she left. Everything inside me cracked. Not broke. Not shattered. Just opened. Like I'd been standing in front of a locked door for too long, screaming at it to let me in, without realizing the key was already in my hand. I closed my eyes. Let the building breathe around me. Let the memory loops dissolve. I didn't fight it. For the first time in what felt like weeks, I stopped running, stopped chasing, stopped trying to fix it. And something shifted. The version of me in the chair faded. Not vanished. Just dissolved into dust, like he had served his purpose. The whispering stopped. The glow dimmed to soft white. The walls stopped pulsing. And the building around me, whatever it had been, started to collapse in reverse, folding in on itself like a dream waking up. I was no longer in the structure. I was in my car, parked at the lake. The real lake. The one where I'd lost my wedding ring last summer. But now, sitting in the passenger seat, was Mallory. Not the strange, looping version. Not the one with the humming and the broken blinks and the Tuesday smile. Her. Real, flawed, beautiful, alive. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. "You stopped trying," she whispered. I nodded. "I remembered the day you left. I said, my voice breaking. And I finally let it be what it was. A breeze rolled off the water. It carried the scent of pine and that earthy lake smell I never appreciated enough. She reached over and held my hand. Not as a ghost, not as a glitch in my memory, but as a person I once loved and maybe still did in a different way. I'm not coming back, she said gently. I know, I whispered. But you are. And with that, she smiled. Not like the others. This one was real, warm, imperfect, human. And then the scene faded again, not into darkness, not into horror, but into soft morning light spilling across my real bedroom floor. I sat up, gasping. It was Wednesday. My phone buzzed. A text from my sister. Hey, just thinking of you today. It's been a year, huh? I didn't respond right away. I walked into the kitchen. No notes. No humming. No Mallory. Just me. And for the first time in a very, very long time. That was okay. I made myself coffee. I opened the windows. I played her favorite song and didn't cry. The loop was gone. But her love, our love, was still part of me. And maybe that was the point. Not to undo the loss or escape it, but to learn how to carry it and still keep walking forward. This was the Tuesday that finally ended. And I was free.